Hey class, this is our managerial functions discussion. I decided to, out of the five things we had to discuss, three of our choices. So I decided on the first one, name and explain each letter of the sleep model. And I'm using Deshaun Watson as kind of an example with his history with the Houston Texans. Over last offseason, he got into a lot of legal allegations, a lot of things coming up about sexual misconduct with trainers and massage techniques. So he had a lot of heat coming on to him basically all off season, and it was a big decision for the Texans whether or not they would play him this year. Um, and this was a good model to use in deciding whether or not to play him. And the first letter of the sleep model is social. And if you look at social ramifications for letting Deshaun Watson play, if you decided to play him, you might be telling people, your fan base, and everyone around watching you guys that these allegations are not serious enough, or you don't deem them serious enough to um, warrant him to not play. And that could cause problems basically with faculty. I mean, it could cause problems with anybody that sees that as basically they're on the other side of that argument does believe that this can warrant him not playing. You could have anything from walkouts with certain players or staff members, fan bases and protesting and not coming to your games, which the Texans did not have to worry about a lot because they weren't very good anyway this year. But that's the first part of looking at a situation or an issue. The second one is the L. It's the legal ramifications of a decision. So in this situation, the Texans could have played him. They could have let him play this year. They ultimately decided not to. But in this part of the sleep module, if you look at the legal ramifications, the legal standpoint, is would Deshaun Watson be allowed to play? He hasn't been convicted of anything yet. It's just ongoing investigations that have still not uncovered a lot. So he violated rules or conduct policies that are illegal to violate, but they have not been fully proven. So they could have played him and not had any legal, basically pushback on that. The next part of it, the first E, is the economic side. Just think about the economic side of letting Deshaun Watson play. Um, you know, if he plays, maybe a lot more fans that do like Deshaun Watson, maybe they come out. Maybe they come out and support. But on the flip side, if he does play, are there like go back to the first part? Is it economically safe if you allow people to play? Will a good number of your own I guess fan base protest and not come to the game because they don't want him playing with this investigation, with everything looming over his head? So that's something that's taken into consideration. The next E is ethical dilemma. What are the ethical considerations that you have to have? And that's just inside yourself as an owner or general manager of a team. If you hear this about your star player going through this and the things that you hear him doing, I mean, if you believe that it's true or it could be true, do you play him? Do you decide in yourself, well, will I tolerate it? Will I let it go on and still will I set that message that will my team be allowed to do whatever they want, including things that can get them in trouble, and I will still let them play until they legally cannot. And that's a question that the Texans had to face this year, and I believe they made the right choice, honestly, by not having him play. Um, but then you go to the P, which is political. There's a lot of things to consider. Just with elected officials in general in that area, this can cause a political, I guess, fight or rally or anything. I mean, one person of a political group or political power can say, "Oh, look at what the Texans are doing. Look at what they're allowing. This is what I want to stop in my community." They can use that as fuel to, push against or for a certain thing to happen. So that is a big part of definitely have to consider if you're a major sports team in a situation such as this happens. These are all things to consider. And the last one is educational. Um, can this be a thing that not only the person that's involved learns from, but your whole entire team, staff, yourself, your community? What can we do to better and make this never happen again? And I think I've seen teams in preseason, they sit down with the entire team and they say, look, you're a professional athlete, you have a lot of money. There's going to be a lot of people trying to get a piece of that. Don't let it happen. Don't get yourself in a situation to where a girl can say, oh, he was alone with me and he did this, and it's just his word against mine. Whereas you can't prove anything didn't happen, so you might be facing consequences. You might be facing trouble or jail time or anything of that nature. The second part I decided to do, or the second question, why are objectives very useful in evaluation? I mean, objectives are very useful in evaluation in any context. In sports context, I feel like it's easier to obtain and kind of look and measure your evaluations. Here's an example within the sport industry would just be a football coach saying, I want my team to win 9 games out of 12 this year, and I want to win my conference, and that's coach sitting down with the AD and saying, hey, this is what I want to do for this club this year. This is what our goals are. Okay, those are our objectives. That's what we need to meet. That's what we want to do. At the end of the year, your team went 7-5. We did not win a conference championship. We barely went to a bowl game, and we did not win that. Evaluation wise, you did not meet your objectives. You did not do what you set out to do. And, coaches kind of get looked at that, and depending on where you are, 7-5 can be terrible. 7-5 can be fireable. I mean, if you're on the level of Alabama and Georgia or in the SEC conversation, 7-5 is not cutting it. So that is a easy, very huge way, very useful for evaluations, especially in the sport industry. Lastly, I'm going to explain the difference between long-term and short-term planning, and it says to provide 2 examples within the sport industry. Short-term planning, as you know, it's for projects just within a year to 3 years. The difference between that and long-term is anything 3 years or above is what a long-term plan or long-term situation would be. And I guess an example in the sports world, a short-term plan would be, I guess, sorry, I had it in my mind and I lost it. Okay, short-term plan would be trials, Olympic trials. I apologize. Olympic trials happening. Those are basically a year planned out. The sites are planned in a year in advance. Not too long in advance. They give just enough time for the players to know where they're going. Coaches and teams know where they're going, and they prepare. Long term would be the Olympics in general, or the World Cup would be another example of a long term plan. Those are set in well over 4 years in advance normally. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to see what you guys did.